This is food. This is beans.
Adrian, it's time now to take a closer look at The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 6, titled The Price, from HBO. This episode was directed by Neil Druckmann, who's the creator of the video games The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2. I guess The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 now. Mm-hmm. But it was also written by Craig Mazin, Neil Druckmann, and Haley Gross, who Haley Gross and Neil Druckmann were a writing team for Part 2 specifically, just for context. This episode, from my perspective, was absolutely incredible. I'll throw it to you, though, because I don't want to say too much in terms of high-level thoughts. This is obviously non-spoiler. I don't want to talk about too much about who was in it necessarily or anything like that, but I'll throw it to you. What did you think of this episode, Episode 6, The Price?
I thought this episode was a genuine masterpiece. It is my favorite episode of the series. It's beautiful. Everything about it I loved from start to finish. Everything still stands from the previous conversations. The set design is immaculate. It's so good in every single scene that they do. The writing in this was, I think, the greatest of this season so far. I think the performances all around were once again immaculate. The expansion of existing lore and adding scenes to give additional context was just so good.
I wonder if you know why I'm laughing at you right now.
No. Does it look like I'm crying?
Because you're very dour. Let's just say,
yeah.
Like you don't seem like you're in good spirits. It's funny because this is going to be this part of our review here is going to be spliced into episode 110 of Split Focus. So I wonder about the mood change that's going to be perceived after. I think this will go right after the review for episode 5. So it's just interesting. But you just came off of watching this episode probably moments ago within the last 10 minutes.
Yes.
So there's that part as well to understand.
And this is an incredibly sad episode of television.
It's very emotional.
I loved it. I loved it.
You might cry right now.
I'm tearing up a little bit, actually.
You might cry live. I would agree about the acting in particular. The acting is a standout. He's putting on his poker glasses out there for the audio listeners because he might cry like he's at a wake. But the acting in particular from the leads in the episode was amazing. It was amazing. I mentioned last episode for episode 5. I mentioned the symmetricality is a standout part of episode 5. It's a standout part of episode 6 as well, which is really quite neat. I didn't see that coming. They seem to like symmetricality from the writing standpoint for this season. It seems like I maybe didn't notice it as much in season 1, but certainly in season 2. So yeah, it's quite something. I think Neil Druckmann is a great director. I'm just going to say that. Like, I don't think he did a phenomenal job with the TV show episode he was given in season 1, but I'm not sure that it was his fault necessarily. It's just, it was good. I liked it. I remember it, which one it was. I'm pretty sure it was the second one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time.
I distinctly remember that episode and not loving it. Like, it wasn't my favorite episode, but there's just not a lot to do, I guess. This episode, I feel like Neil Druckmann handpicked this episode. The last one, I feel like he was getting his sea legs or something like that. He was like kind of, he never directed an episode of TV before. He's a video game director, and he's a great video game director. Maybe my favorite. Largely.
He is mine.
Because of The Last of Us Part 2, specifically. So I think he did a phenomenal job here, and he had a hand in writing this as well with his writing partner Haley Gross. So, yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by what he might do next as well. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say on this on the non-spoiler side. Are you good?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's liven up the mood here a little bit. Take
try my
a
best.
swig of water. Okay. But yeah, very good. Yeah, you got a little an owl mug. Very good. Good for you.
This is Joel's mug in this episode, dude.
Is it?
It is. It's the exact
Oh,
mug.
okay. Oh,
Joel
wow. Wow,
Yeah.
very well. That's you're a little blurry on my end, so hopefully it comes through on the final cut here. But yeah.
Hopefully.
Cool, man. All right. Well, moving on. Moving on now to the spoiler portion of this A Closer Look episode where we break down The Last of Us episode 6 of season 2 in a more spoilery way. If you haven't obviously watched the episode, yada, 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 get out of here. But we're going to talk about spoilers now. I'm just going to start by saying that I just mentioned the acting. The acting from Pedro Pascal is mint. I'm going to call it right now.
Yep.
Guy's going to win an Emmy. I think like there's this, I was like this, he's been really good like throughout the episode. And then you get to the last scene, the last sequence. And when he says, I love you, it's just like, oh my goodness, dude, you're killing it. There's also, he's crying in that scene, but he also cries tears of joy in the one of the first scenes of his performance.
Yeah.
When it's just like,
when they're in the spaceship. And
exactly.
It's
amazing.
Beautiful. It's so subtle.
Good. When you see that, exactly, subtlety, you see the tear rolling down his cheek. He's just so happy, man. He kills it, man. Pedro Pascal is like such a good actor. I love this guy.
And I can't stress enough, Bella Ramsey in this episode specifically, I think she's great, but this episode specifically showed her range like no other episode before. I think she was phenomenal. This was the most like Ellie from the game she's ever been, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with the direction. Neil Druckmann knows these characters better than anyone.
Yeah.
And having him come in to direct this episode, again, obviously Haley Gross and Craig Mazin wrote this episode with him. But for him to, again, I think you're right. I think he handpicked this episode because it is arguably the most amazing scenes from the game. There's so much emotional depth. And I just think, I think this is just so brilliant. And this episode, like we're talking about Pedro Pascal's performance, the subtlety. This is what the rest of the episodes before have been missing. Subtlety. I think so many, like this, I've talked about this in pretty much every single episode. There is a lack of subtlety in this season. Not in this episode.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I feel like if you take a step back, though, and take a look at it from as a whole perspective. You were saying that they hold your hand, they're too deliberate and they're not subtle. But think about this episode and what it informs the audience on. Somebody who hasn't played the game, right? Mm-hmm. They understand now all of these sequences that we didn't have before. But there was no context. A lot of these moments of emotionality that Ellie has behind the scenes, even that scene in which she's about to play the guitar, which is that same song that Joel plays.
Yeah.
She's about to play the guitar in episode 5, the Pearl Jam song, Future Days, right?
Yep, Future Days. Dude, sorry, quick aside. I don't mean to interrupt you there. So you pointed out in the last episode how there's that humming that builds up. Yeah. And it seems like there's going to be a flashback. So they didn't edit that in. I listened to the podcast, the HBO official podcast, and Craig Mazin apparently walked in the editing room and said, told the editor, wow, this was really amazing. I love that you added this in there. And they said, we didn't. And it's because when they were filming that scene at that exact moment, they were doing, I think, construction or something not too far. And the humming happened specifically at that exact time.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it was brought in. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just think that's such a cool little tidbit about that scene in particular. What
I was saying was that I feel like you're saying it's not subtle, but I feel like it's not as subtle as the game because the game is a game. But when you take a look at the fact that the context is not there for the audience, we know this information about these characters. This whole flashback after flashback after flashback sequence, there's a lot of things we don't know and they never tell us. Eugene's death, how did that play out? Why is Ellie upset? Did they actually make up? We don't know any of this stuff. And the writing staff and the directors and everyone, the whole team who's making this show, they're largely saying trust us actually the whole way through, because you're like, trust us. We just killed your favorite character. Trust us. You know what I mean? But then they do this episode, and this, like, the trust kind of pays off in a weird way. So I know you're saying it's unsubtle and all that, but it is kind of subtle, because they chose deliberately to take these scenes and not put them into the show, which they could have easily done, which obviously the game doesn't do either. There's that element too. But I feel like, I know that you don't like the rest of the season and you think it's uneven and all that, but just, if you could just take a look at that, it's pretty cool how it kind of justifies some of the previous episodes a little bit, just a little bit in that regard, if that makes sense. Not to give them too much credit, because my score, I think, is largely unchanged based on what this episode has done. But just saying. But anyway, yeah, this episode is incredibly heart-wrenching in every capacity. It's really good. I don't know. But I'll throw it back to you. I'll let you lead this one, because I know you're quite emotional about it. So
yeah, I don't know if you can tell. But yeah, like, I think, again, everything about this episode was brilliant, man. The idea that we got to see Joel as a kid and how he wanted to protect his brother Tommy, and this has been a thing since they were children, and having Tony Dalton show up, playing his father, which is amazing, dude. It's really cool, because Naughty Dog, I think, continues to show, like, they like working with specific actors and bringing them in. Tony Dalton is, I don't know if it's fully confirmed, but in the Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, the trailer, there's a picture on this board with the main character when she's walking through it, and Tony Dalton's on there. So they're like, they like working with the same actors. Again, Tati Gabrielle, she's the main character in Intergalactic, and she plays Nora in this show. She was also in the Uncharted movie, as an example. So, like, I think, oh man, like, them and adding these, like, extra
Caitlin
layers.
Devers in Uncharted.
Oh yeah, Caitlin Dever as well. Yeah, Uncharted 4 specifically. So, like, they like working with actors consistently. I think they choose someone, they're like, okay, cool, this person's great, and then they'll bring him into other projects, and I really like that.
To point that out, actually, to like, that's a good point to make. There's also this idea that that's just not done in the industry largely. You know what I mean? There's not many opportunities to do that. They make truly cinematic games that are basically movies with excellent gameplay, but have fairly linear storylines that tell an incredibly emotional story and requires the actors to really, like, again, shoot for the moon. They're not looking to make a soft narrative in favor of gameplay. Their focus is potentially both, but they're really making sure they tell incredible, heartfelt and grounded story most of the time. Most developers, not most, but a lot, I guess, aren't really doing this. And so it's kind of a neat idea that they also have the medium of TV shows and movies that they can also pull between them, which is unique. It's not like Christopher Nolan does that. You know what I mean? Wes Anderson does this, where he pulls the same actors over and over and over again. But in this case, it's specifically pulled between mediums, which I think is maybe the only thing that does that. Maybe the only property, IP. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. But yeah, I just want to talk about that opening scene specifically, because it adds so much value to this show.
Yeah.
And again, like, God, dude, it's so well acted. I don't know the kids, the guy that plays the young Joel, but brilliant job. And again, I really love Tony Dalton. He's stellar in Better Call Saul specifically. That's, I think, probably the first thing that I really noticed him in. This is what I love. This episode totally encapsulates everything I want them to continue doing. Add additional scenes to give context to the greater story, fill in gaps that weren't in the game, and then follow the best parts of the game to a T, like, perfectly. And it was just everything about this, man. Like, I'm honestly, like, I'm flummoxed. I can't talk properly about this, because I've never loved an episode of television this much since I don't even know how long. I'm being straight up with you. It sucks because I've been so negative. Well, not fully negative. I've been rating things 3.54,
Yeah.
But ultimately, I feel like I've been coming off as a pretty negative Nancy in regards to this season. I think literally last week,
a bit of a wet blanket.
yeah. And I literally said last season, or when we reviewed last episode, I'm like, I'm confident this season is worse than the first season. Like I'm getting that feeling. I don't know if that's the case anymore just because of this one episode, because this might be, again, my favorite episode of television, period, full stop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bold statement.
Dude, I'm not joking. I was crying for like 25 minutes of this.
Wow.
like my eyes were wet
well.
the entire time.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about it right now. My eyes are wet, and it's because like I love this source material so much.
I can see you.
Neil Druckmann. He's like, again, he created something that I love and adore more. Not more than anything, but like love and adore so freaking much with Haley Gross, and he comes in, creates a perfect episode of television, expands on the lore. He knows this world, these characters better than anyone, and is able to add additional scenes to fans like us that love the game so much. This is a love letter, not only to the show audience, but to fans of the game, to people like me. And again, I'm going to follow Neil Druckmann to the ends of the earth. Anything he does, I will be there day one to support him. I love this guy. He's amazing.
Yes,
again, Haley Gross.
He's not a stalker. Adrian is not a stalker. This is not a you situation like the TV show on Netflix.
Me?
He's saying follow his works.
Yes.
Follow his works creatively. Yeah, just to be clear.
Yeah, and
I want to go off on something you said just because you talked about the Tony Dalton scene, which I also thought was amazing. I thought it was a great way to start the episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's this line in it that is incredible, and that's why I was talking about symmetricality is just brilliant. It's like chef's kiss, just incredible. When you have one of your own, maybe you'll do a little better than me. I just think that line is so good because Tony Dalton says that, and then they wrap up the episode basically with a bow when Joel says that to Ellie. I think that's just so good. It's so good. And somehow I didn't see it coming. I'm an idiot, I guess. It's so obvious, but I just didn't see it coming. I think it's maybe all the emotion in that scene where he's saying, I love you. And he's completely tearing up. He said he would do the exact same thing over again if he was given a second chance. His acting is so good. It's crazy. Oh my goodness. But this is the idea too. Like it's like a cyclical type situation. There's an idea in the whole of The Last of Us, especially The Last of Us Part 2, of this cycle of violence. But there's this idea with his family that it kind of it's a cycle that they are trapped in. Each of them, like each of the fathers as it goes up, each of the parents. I guess his father's in the case of Joel and his father, but there's this idea that they're stuck in their own way, and there's almost like a cyclical funneling of their nature. But it's neat. They can't escape their nature. It's such an interesting but haunting idea. But he did do better in a way. It's just he's also in the apocalypse. Like he did better as a father figure to Ellie, but not necessarily to the rest of the world necessarily. But what would Tony Dalton's what is it, Jim Miller? I don't know his name. It's also Jay. Maybe it's Joel. Maybe it's Joel again. Maybe it's Joel Miller Sr. Not sure. But what would he have done in the apocalypse? How many people would he have murdered for his kids? I don't know. But it's amazing. It's incredible. That was a really good idea. Also the concept of going to each of the years of Ellie's birthdays and trying to follow that almost like the Steve Jobs movie by Danny Boyle. They kind of go, it's like a cut in time, and you're, as an audience, you're basically trained to expect these time jumps, and then you're like, whoa, where am I now? It's like this, like you're unstuck in these time warps, and you're like, well, what's happened now? Where are these characters at? When Joel comes in from the rain with the cake the second time, like what's he going to discover? How are things going to be? The ominous nature of the fact that it's raining, the way it's shot as well. You talked about the production design specifically, but the way it's shot overall. There's that shot of the knife on the dresser or the nightstand, which is almost like, I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, a shot from the not the opening sequence, but the title card.
Yeah, like when you're waiting to start the game.
The start menu, I guess.
Yeah, start menu, exactly.
Right. Which is and that's clearly deliberate by Neil. But But there's a lot of passion clearly that Neil brought into directing this episode that he brought overall. And it seems like it's like a relentless attention to detail that is exactly why I love Naughty Dog games. It's all represented here in this 1 hour episode. It's excellent. But yeah, the passage of time aspect of the time jumps, that's how you do a good time jump in a TV show. Yeah. Oh, and then they jump to Eugene's story, and that's so heart-wrenching as well, and showing us that context. And that whole side story is not even the point of the episode, really, but it is, I guess, it's the idea of love is I guess a huge theme in the episode. But this idea that he's seeing his wife, that moment is just crazy before he gets killed. It's so
even
good.
How there's no, like, they just play the music and you don't hear the gunshot, and the camera
really
pans back, and then you just see the birds flying away, so you know what happens. It's just these little the attention to detail, these little things to make it have an extra emotional impact.
Correct.
It's not like a gunshot for the sake of like violence. This is sadness, like, and that's why I don't think you hear it. It's grief.
Another major, obviously, tentpole of this series, and especially The Last of Us Part 2, a huge theme. But yeah, that's for sure. Like if they had done the gunshot, it was this weird moment where I was like, are they going to shoot him in the back of the head and have us see it? That would have been, it kind of takes away from the point. And that's the beauty of that. That's a great call out for sure. Yeah, it's so good, man. It's so good. Oh, and to connect directly to that moment where Joel lies to Ellie the second time, even the connections of Ellie figuring it out, Ellie seeing the fireflies while they're going along the trail that first year when they came back from the museum.
Birthday.
For the 16th birthday, coming back from the museum. And then the next, they time jump a couple more times. And then that time jump where they're seeing Eugene and all that stuff, and that idea of him promising in the exact same way that he promised that he didn't, that the fireflies were, as Joel said at the end of season 1. That's brilliant because he says it the same way. They tracked it the same way, the way he says I promise, and then he breaks that promise. It's such a incredible like signal to the audience that Ellie understands what has happened, like that he's kind of a liar and he'll lie to kind of get what he wants in a kind of a selfish way.
It's really great too, because again, we don't in the game, like, we don't see what made Ellie ultimately become super angry at Joel again. Because again, we get this flashback where they go to the museum and everything like that in the game. And I don't think it's ever fully explained, like, why Ellie's like, what triggers Ellie to be mad at Joel again, like, to that extent. And the story with Eugene is totally different in the game. Eugene's just like a side, like, just mentioned, you don't see him. I think he dies in his sleep or something like that.
Yeah, nothing related to this. There's no emotionality attached to his character. We're not really trained in the game, even though it's a longer narrative to even know who he is. But in this, they really made him a central character of the episode in a way.
And the turning point in Joel and Ellie's relationship for those 9 months, I guess. And again, Catherine O'Hara's performance in this is just so good. She's like one of the great additions of this season. The character of Gail, it's awesome. Even just like the quick scene where Joel goes into she's sitting down having a coffee or whatever, and he just sits down and like, okay, what, talks about dreams, and she adds this like brief moment of levity just because of her how she responds, like, oh yeah, moths are death, like you're thinking of butterflies, like that's what change is about. And even just like, when Joel figures that out, he like stands up and leaves, and she's like, what the fuck, like, a little bit rude. Yeah. And again, I loved it. Oh my god, dude.
There's just there's the element of as well, like eventually the truth will out. You know what I mean? Like it's the I promise. She never believed it. Like pretty much since he promised it when they're arriving back to Jackson from Salt Lake City. So it's good that they were able to at least have that moment where he was able to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And that moment is so good. I'm just so happy it happened though, because it could have just They could have chosen not to make it happen. My
Yeah.
fiance loved this episode as well. Like she was like the moment where he says "I love you," and even just the moment with any of the baby girls,
Oh, dude.
any baby girl that Pedro Pascal says, she's about to cry. Essentially, my fiance.
Yeah.
So it's great. That's great. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. It's well directed, well cinematographied. The photography in general is amazing. The set design in terms of matching the game, as you mentioned, especially in the museum, I feel like that was such a key element there. It's very similar to the game from how I remember it, although I haven't played it in a little while, and especially in the museum scenes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's excellent. And just the little moments, those moments where even like Joel gets upset that she's kind of like fooling around with that random girl from Jackson and like getting the tattoo and smoking pot. But he kind of, it's cool to see how he's not his father. I thought that was a really great informative flashback in the beginning of the show, because it showed, it kind of demonstrated how he is not that person and how did he actually do better, as that line states that Tony Dalton's character says. So yeah. So it's really cool. There's like, there's like, it's just a consistent moment of calm, and then the action and the crying, the crying moments of trying to make you cry. So, yeah.
You mean the whole fucking episode, dude? The whole episode? Oh, Jesus, man.
Yeah. Anything else you wanna add?
I don't know. I don't know if I can talk about it without wanting to sob. I think again, I'm so glad that they used, Pearl Jam's Future Days. Even though technically that song wouldn't have been written and released in the timeline of the show because they start the timeline in 2003 versus 2013. I don't give a shit about that. Who the fuck cares? That song is, I think, so integral to The Last of Us Part 2. And again, it highlights,
I mean,
if I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself. That one line there is just so great. And I think Pedro Pascal's performance in that scene was really stellar. Bella Ramsey looking at him again, you can see how much they care for each other just by their expressions. And again, having it at the end where he does say, "I love you" to her, it's like, we all knew it. We all knew it, man. And I'm just like, he's finally saying it out loud, and it's just beautiful. I'm not joking, man. To me, this is a perfect episode of television. I've no criticisms at all in this single episode of TV. And I'm just so grateful for it. I'm so grateful I got to experience this. And
I feel like the flashbacks are over now. That's also the feeling I get. Like, there's no reason to go back to Joel. I think Pedro Pascal, he's wrapped.
Yeah, I agree
on the series. I think I think this also gives us a lot more context and a lot more fuel for Ellie going forward, and I think that will help the series moving forward as well.
I agree completely, and I also want to note, because you pointed out how in the opening title card sequence, how it's just Ellie now. They brought Joel back in that outline at the end there too, which I really loved. That again, a little attention to detail, man. So good.
Yeah,
so good.
My fiance was quick to point that out the moment it happened. She's like, look, there's two of them. She got so excited because she just wanted to see Pedro back as Joel. But it was nice to show the way that they wrapped it up. I feel like there's a neat idea of like back to reality as well. Like the very last shot of this episode was Ellie in Seattle again in the cold rain, going back to the theater. I think that is a really good way to wrap it, because it's again back to reality. Here we go. Now it's done. Now the flashbacks are over. No more baby girl. It's serious business. And I think that was a really smart way to go, because this is a cold, hard tale in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So
it's going to get dark and dreary from here. I think that is exactly what this is signaling. I don't think we're going to have the, Ellie coming in and cracking jokes with Dina. I think that's done. I'm so curious what this next episode's going to be like, because they have a decent chunk to cover.
They do. Yeah.
So I'm curious where this season's actually going to end. But again, next episode is also written by Neil Druckmann and Haley Gross, along with Craig Mazin. Is Neil Druckmann directing the next episode as well?
He is not, but I'm forgetting who. So I'm going to pull it up right now. It's directed by Nina Lopez Corrado.
Oh.
Corrado.
I'm unfamiliar with her work.
I am very unfamiliar. And I can't even search their name on Wikipedia because it doesn't weirdly come up. Like when you click, you can't click their name, which is strange. But they directed episodes of Mayor of Kingstown and for HBO, Perry Mason, apparently. So that's something. But anyway, our scores, Adrian, let's do it. Let's score it. We've been reviewing this long enough. This was a slower review because you're kind of bewildered a little bit.
I was,
like a deer in the headlights, just a tiny bit, the sadness. But yeah, I'll throw you the score first. I think I know what your score is. I can just tell you what it is, but you tell me what it is.
It's 20 out of 5.
No, not possible.
It's 5 out of 5, man. That's easy.
Good stuff.
It's easy.
All right, mine's a 3.5 out of 5. No, I'm kidding.
Shut up.
Mine's a 5 out of 5 as well. This is a perfect 10 out of 10 potato score, Adrian. A very fresh potato, the freshest potato that's ever been known to man. 10 out of 10. We both gave it a 5 out of 5. Very good. Well, this was fun. As always, Adrian, thank you, audience, for listening. Thank you, Adrian, as always, for joining me. Goodbye.
Take care, man.
Okay, goodbye.